Hi guys, it's Heather with Running with Scissors, and this month in your October 2024 box number 48, we are making this set of 2x2 pumpkins. All right, let's get started. All right, so let's see what's in our box. We have two sets of 2x2 blocks in two different sizes. This is a 7-inch and a 10-inch. And then we have our laser cut pieces. Now the elongated pumpkin is going to go on the taller blocks, and the squat pumpkin is going to go on the shorter blocks. You're going to have a tube of wood glue and a tube of super glue. Actually, you know what? I don't think we're going to use the super glue. So stand by to see if we end up using that, because I believe the wood glue should be sufficient. You will have, I have 4 bundles. You will have 1 bundle of jute. It's long enough. I had just separated it into 4s. So that's how I started with mine, but yours is all wrapped together. You have 4 strands all wrapped together. Mine are just wrapped separately. You'll have 2 birch stems for your pumpkins. You'll have some sponges, yellow and white, and then you'll have a variety of paints. All right, so I'm gonna pull all of my stuff out. Remember, you can use your box as your table cover. And I'm going to set that aside. You will need baby wipes and scissors, but I think that's all that you will need for this project. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use my wood glue, and I'm going to glue all 4 of these pieces together, lining one edge up. Now these are all hand cut, so there might be a slight variation in height, but just line them all up on the bottom edge or one edge so that they stand up together. And of course you can see I'm just using scrap ones from our scrap bin, but so they have a hole drilled in them, but probably used for some other project. Yours won't be like that. So what I suggest that you do is take, even I have a Craig's jig hole drilled through mine. Take and turn your 2x2s to find the best face, and so that points forward or up. So this will be the front of your pumpkin. And then you are going to take your wood glue, and you are just going to run a line of wood glue in between each pumpkin or each wood piece like this, and glue them together. And you'll do that in between each set here. You have to work kind of quickly. And then once again, just make sure they're lined up along that bottom, and then just push those to the side because they are going to have to dry, and that is going to take several minutes for that wood glue to dry. And then we're going to do the same thing with the second set. Just find the best face and tip it forward. And then you're going to run a line of glue along the inner side and just set those together. Make sure that bottom edge is lined up. And then you're just going to push them aside and let them dry. All right, so while we wait for those to dry, they're gonna take a minute. We are going to work on our other pieces. So my plan for the tall pumpkin, that is the one, the 10-inch one, is to paint it in this Australian jade color. And the other pumpkin, the short 7-inch, I'm going to paint in this New Orleans purple. All right. We gave you pumpkin colored pumpkins last year, so this year you're getting some colored pumpkins. And so then for these, I want to paint some shades of orange. So we have Tucson Joe, and then we also have some white. So, and then we have chocolate as well, because chocolate and Tucson Joe look good together. And then I thought we could use chocolate for the stems as well. So I'm going to take one of my white wedges and I'm going to cut it in half because I don't need that big of a sponge. I just cut it up the middle. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and paint my stems. I'm just going to put a little bit of paint on them. I'm not going to worry about filling it in all the way. I kind of want it to look a little like it's more of a stain than a paint. So just a light covering. Same with this one, just a little bit more of a stain than an opaque paint. And the leaves, I'm gonna take that same sponge and I'm gonna use the Australian Jade and some of this brown and make a little bit of a ferny colored leaf. All right, and so that's what our leaves are going to look like. All right, and I'm just gonna set those aside to dry. And I'm gonna grab another sponge and I'm gonna cut it in half. And then I'm gonna do my little pumpkins that are gonna sit on the covers. And I'm just gonna use the Tucson Joe straight from the container. And I will add some white to this and change the color, but I want to get a coat on first. So we're going to do that. And now this one, I think I'm just going to do straight Tucson Joe. We'll see. First, we're going to get a base coat on. Now this bigger pumpkin, I'm still going to use a half wedge, and I'm going to paint this one white. It's not going to stay white, but we're going to paint it white to begin with. This is the pumpkin that's going to go on the jade pumpkin. Paint the centerpiece white right now as well. gonna let that dry, and while that dries, we're gonna come back over to our orange pumpkin, and we're gonna start with the middle, because the middle is just gonna stay this Tucson Joe orange. And then we're gonna take this piece, and we're gonna go ahead and give it one more coat. But then we are going to lighten it up with some streaks of white. So I'm just adding a little bit of white to my sponge, and I'm gonna come in here. I'm just gonna start streaking it. Now, in order to get a nice streak, you have to make sure that you have wet paint. If your paint is dry at all, it's not going to do it. It will not move. So just get yourself some more paint on your sponge. All right, that looks cute. I like that. Maybe just a little bit more color variation there. Now, if you keep swiping, you'll blend more. So if you stop swiping, you'll have less blend and the color variation will show through a lot more. And then this over top of that will look cute. I'm going to take this same sponge. I'm not going to change sponges. I'm just going to pounce it off. I'm going to add a little bit more of that Tucson Joe back in. And then I'm going to grab just a little tiny bit of brown. And then I'm just going to kind of pounce it in together on my table cover to kind of darken up that Tucson Joe just a little bit with that brown. And then I'm going to come along the edges. I don't want much paint on my sponge. I'm gonna come along my edges and just kind of darken my edges up. Okay. And that's that piece, and we're just going to set those aside to dry. Then we're going to move back over to our white pumpkins, and we're going to give them another coat. Our white pumpkin pieces, and give them another coat. You have a lot of options you can do with all your paint colors here. So you can lighten them up, you can darken them up, you can darken them up with brown, lighten them up with white. All right, so here's this sky. Let's give this one more coat. Now this one, I'm gonna sweep some brown through. I'm gonna go back to my original brown sponge, and yep, it had some Australian jade on it, but that's okay with me. I'm just gonna dip it right back in to my brown paint, and if there's some streaks of green in there, I'm okay with that. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of white, and I'm going to come back in, and I'm going to wipe that all in. All right, and I'm gonna let that dry. And then I'm gonna use that same sponge, dipped back into some brown and pounced off into the side to make kind of like a toasty color. And I'm gonna come over to this one and just come along the edges and just get some of that little toasty brown on there. And that's how that one looks. All right, and I'm gonna set these aside to dry. And my pumpkin should be dry by now. So I'm going to put them in front of me. And this one is going to be the purple. So I'm going to use the yellow sponge. And I am just going to wipe this in. And you will need to let it dry. Make sure you get all sides. You don't have to worry about the bottom, but you do have to get the top. And you will need a second coat. All right, we're gonna set that aside and let it dry while we do the other set. And then once that's dry, we can go back and put its second coat on. So we'll just alternate between the two. This Australian jade cover is very nice. You might find that you don't need a second coat. I'll let you decide that. But I definitely needed a second coat with the New Orleans. I'm going to come back to my purple and I'm going to give that another coat. All right, now, while your purple is still wet, and if you want to, I will do mine so you can see what it looks like. And if you don't like it, you can always paint over top of it. But you can grab a little bit of white on your purple sponge, and you can do streaks on this, the same as we did on the smaller pumpkins. You can add some color definition, some variation to your pumpkins by adding some white. And the more you swipe, the more it will blend in and change that purple down to that lighter purple. So up to you if you want to do that. That's kind of how it will turn out. And you can do the same thing with the jade pumpkin if you want to. While we wait for this guy to dry, and while it's drying, we're going to go ahead and glue the stem on so the stem can set up as well. So you're just going to take your wood glue and put it on the end of your stem here, and then you're going to lay it on your pumpkin and just set your pumpkin aside. It will take quite a bit of time to dry, so you just want to get that on there and move it to the side and just let it be for a while. And then come back to your jade pumpkin for your second coat on your jade. Put that second coat on. Jade did cover very good, so you may not even need a second coat. But if you want to do the streak part, you'll have to put that second coat on so you have some wet paint. All right, so because I did my first one, I'm going to go ahead and do this one as well. I'm just going to dip my sponge into a little bit of the white paint. Now you could also use brown and it would just darken it up. You could even put purple in. You could put orange in. All right. I'm not going to do the sides. All right, now same as the other one, I'm going to go ahead and set my stem. And then I'm going to just set it off to the side and let that dry. That's going to need a good 10 minutes. So you are going to have to wait for a minute to let that dry before we can move on. But what we are going to do for a couple of minutes while we fill up some of the time is we're going to glue our little pumpkins together. We are pretty much done with our paint though, so we're going to go ahead and close everything up. Now you received enough paint to do either pumpkin in either color. So if you want to do the tall pumpkin in the purple and the short pumpkin in the jade, you do have plenty of paint to do that. Plenty of brown paint if you want to add in brown stripes, or if you want to lighten that paint, there's plenty of white as well. All right, so we are going to use our wood glue for this because there's not much to glue here. So you're just going to go ahead and put a little bit of that glue. My studio little bottle here is about empty. Put a little bit of glue on the back of that and go ahead and glue that there. And the same with this one. Go ahead and glue that there. And then we're just going to set those off to the side. And then we're going to set our leaves off to the side as well. And we have to wait for our pumpkins to finish drying and our stems to finish setting. So meet me back here when your pumpkins are all dry and your stems have set. Let them sit for about 10 to 15 minutes so they get nice and dry. We'll see you back here in 10. All right, we're all dry. So we're going to unravel our jute, and you'll have one bundle, but you'll have 4 pieces in that bundle. And what we're going to do is we're going to start at the back of our pumpkin, and we're going to leave ourselves enough of a tail that we're able to tie it, and we're starting at the bottom. Okay, so back, bottom, leave enough of a tail. And then we're just going to wrap our jute around the pumpkin. And I'm keeping mine in a straight row here, like one right on top of the other one. But if you want to do some crisscrosses or you want to go over top of each other, you can do that. And I got 6 wraps. Now I'm gonna squeeze my wraps together because I want them to be just sitting on top of each other. And I'm gonna lower them because I want them more towards the bottom. Okay, so I've got my wraps all lined up. You see that? And I just want to make sure it's level because it will drive me crazy. Yes, okay. So I'm going to come around the back and then I'm just going to tie that. Tie it nice and tight. Now if you have a hot glue gun and you want to get that out, you can do that, but you don't need to. You have plenty of jute here just to make a tie. And then I'm just going to cut the ends off. And then I'm going to do the same thing at the top. Okay, and I'm going to come around the back and I'm just going to squeeze my jute together there so it's tight rows, and then I'm going to tie it again. I'm just doing a square knot. That's left over right, right over left. And then squeeze it together. There we go. Make sure it's even. All right, so there's that guy. And then I'm gonna take this. Oh, I'm loving. Okay, I'm going to put some of that wood glue on the back of that pumpkin and glue him into place. And then the leaf, let's take a bit of our leftover jute here. I'm gonna pull it apart. And I'm just gonna string it into the hole of the leaf. I'm gonna tie that on there. Just like that. And I'm actually I was thinking I was gonna put this up here. Yes, I think I will. I'm just gonna glue that right up there. Probably have to glue it to your jute as well. All right, we're gonna let that sit till it's dry. And we're gonna come over to this one and we're gonna do the same thing. Just gonna leave a little bit for a tail. And then we're gonna wrap. Over and tie it tight, and then just cut the excess off. And I'm going to save those tails because I'm going to tie it onto my leaf like I did the other one. And then we're going to do the same thing on the bottom here. And then we're going to come around and tie a knot. All right, that's so cute. Oh, I love all the colors. Sometimes I just don't know, you know, I do this on the fly. I think about it a little bit, but sometimes you just don't know till you get painting it what you really want to do. And so, all right, we're just gluing that pumpkin down. And then I'm gonna take another piece of this leftover jute here, and I'm just pulling the strands apart. So I get one of the pieces, one ply here, and I'm gonna thread that through. And I'm just tying it on there. Just tying a knot. And then letting that raffia hang, or jute hang. And then I'm gonna put some glue on the back of this leaf. And I'm going to just glue it up here. You could always wrap some jute around the stem if you wanted to. I forgot. These are adorable. That's it, you guys. And it's hard to show them to you standing up because the camera's flat, but you did see them in the opening. So now if you wanted your jute to line up, you could move it down. This one is kind of up high, but I think it's cute just like that. I don't think they need to match. So there you go. Well, I hope you enjoyed October 2024 box number 48. 48 boxes we've been doing, so that's 4 years. Holy cow, happy anniversary. All right, you guys, take care, and we'll see you next month.